Looking to make some healthier habits this holiday season? Make sure to check out our Moving Through Midlife community over on Facebook, as we are doing a Planksgiving event where we are doing daily plank workouts. We will be doing an Advent for healthy, happy hips this holiday season, and then also have a sugar challenge, a 2-week sugar challenge that you might be interested in. Happy holidays!
Welcome to Raising Healthy Humans, a podcast created for busy moms, where you can easily find info on health and wellness for your family. Join Courtney, a health coach, movement and posture specialist, and founder of FormFit, an active and supportive community where she helps busy moms move more. Here on Raising Healthy Humans podcast, she shares personal life experiences, training, knowledge, and conversations with other health and wellness experts so you can raise healthy humans.
Today, I'm speaking with Linda of Balaboosta's Secret, where she is sharing tips to help you get dinner on the table quickly without all the Martha Stewart fuss. Her goal is to help your family enjoy this time with food they will love and family time that will keep everyone laughing and looking forward to dinner. Enjoy our conversation. Hi, Linda. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me today. I want you to speak with me about what you offer and the name of your business, because I want to say it's Balaboosta. Am I right or wrong?
You are 100% correct. Balaboosta's Secret.
Okay. And what exactly is Balaboosta?
Sure. Balaboosta is an old-fashioned Yiddish term. And people say, well, what the heck are you doing with an old-fashioned Yiddish term? It's a dead language. No one speaks it. But the concept of a Balaboosta is exactly what we all want to be. So what a Balaboosta is, a woman who makes a fine home. Now, my fine home definition is the anti-Martha Stewart. You don't need coasters to put your drinks down. You want the house that everybody wants to go to. It's warm, it's welcoming, great conversation, lots of laughter, lots of meaning, terrific food. You want to be the hub of everybody's life. And when you're a mom and you have kids, it's so important to let your kids feel that their friends are welcome, because you want to know who they're hanging out with, what their influences are. And as a person, you want your friends to be able to want to congregate around you. So my ideal is to have that fine home for everybody.
Okay, perfect. This makes me think of my mother. When I was in high school, my mom, all my friends would call her Mama Williams, and everybody would come over to our house, and it'd be midnight, and she would start making the nacho cheese, throw out the nacho at midnight, and just, have all the kids there, because she knew where I was. She knew that she was keeping these other kids safe and off the street. And that's kind of how it was for us when I was growing up. So I love this. And can you tell me, what got you started on working with families and moms to help them in the kitchen?
Absolutely. So I will preface it by saying I started out as a terrible cook. When I was in my teens, my mother was the most boring cook on the planet, and I told her so. And she said, all right, smart Alec, I'm going to get you a cookbook, and once a week, you're going to be in charge of cooking. Tell me what you need for the ingredients, you cook it. Well, the pressure was on. I mean, I couldn't make anything that would be, ordinary, because I already told her she was so boring. So she bought me The Joy of Cooking. And back then, The Joy of Cooking, and I haven't seen it in years, but back then it had no pictures. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't even know what the dish was supposed to look like. So here I'm picking out these outrageously complex dishes, not knowing what I'm doing. So the first time I made, I think, chicken cordon bleu. I can't even say it to this day, let alone cook it, right? And I cooked it, and it was an absolute utter disaster. The next time I made Swedish meatballs. Well, again, I'd never had a Swedish meatball, and these were like cannonballs. Awful. By the third time I cooked my meal, I was banned from the kitchen. Now, most people at that point give up. I didn't. I took it as a challenge and I said, game on. And from that point on, I took cooking courses, taught myself how to cook. The rest is history because now I'm the go-to place where everybody wants to have their food. But in between, I became a lawyer and I did many, many other things. So when I had kids, and I had them later in life, I decided to take off some time because I had accomplished a lot of my professional goals and I really wanted to spend time with my family. So I ate really late because that was my way of growing up and that's what I liked. And I didn't really care, but you have to care and kids get hangry and everything else. So I started to figure out there's got to be a better way. And I created a system for myself where I could get dinner on the table before midnight and everybody was happy. And when my kids would have their friends come over for sleepovers, I wasn't always doing the takeout pizza, here kids go have fun. I'd be making something and we play games at our dinner table. And so my kids' friends would say, holy cow, we don't eat like this. My mom doesn't cook like this. And we're miserable at the dinner table. Can you teach her how to do it? And so that's how Balaboosta Secret was born.
Oh, I love this. I have to ask you a question. When you mentioned how you were bored with your mom's meals, can you elaborate on that? Was it like specific meals every
Oh
single
yes.
day or
So
yeah.
when my dad was working late or had meetings scheduled during the week, we always knew that it would be roast chicken, but she was not really big on seasoning.
Oh,
It would be, she would make spaghetti and meatballs because my dad didn't eat spaghetti and meatballs, so we would make that. But it was from meatballs she made with no seasoning and canned tomato sauce with no added seasonings.
oh,
And it was
oh,
just, there was nothing to it.
okay.
And so I really did protest.
Okay. Okay. I was just curious because my husband speaks about how when he was a child, they had like Monday was, whatever it was, pigs in a blanket. Tuesday was this, Wednesday was this. And he's like, every week it was the same exact thing. So I was just
Yeah,
curious if it
a
was that
lot
as
of
well.
moms are very comfortable cooking with, we call it cooking with themes, because
Uh-huh.
even if you
Yes.
don't want a meal plan, it gives you a way to structure something of what you're cooking. And when I work with a mom who is comfortable working with themes, I try to work with women where they are. I don't want to impose my system on anybody because everybody's lifestyle is different. Their taste buds are different. Their food preferences are different or their food needs. So I work with people where they are. But if they want
Okay.
to do food themes and they don't want to be in that boring rut of Taco Tuesday and sometimes Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I teach them think out of the box. Like a taco doesn't have to be a beef taco. You could have shrimp tacos, you could have fish tacos, roll it up and make it an enchilada. You can still keep that concept and still vary your menu.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what we do. It's like it'll be taco or Mexican type night where we'll do enchiladas or taco bowls or changing it up because my husband, when he comes home, for dinner, he'll always look and he'll be like, oh, not another Taco Tuesday. Okay, so tell me, like, what is your strategy for changing things up at the dinner table and making it more fun and all of that?
In terms of food wise or in terms of
Yes,
conversation?
first food. Yeah, let's start with the food. Like how do you help moms get dinner on the table? Dinner, okay, this is going to be a loaded question here. Dinner on the table. First, let's look at the planning of it. How do you help moms plan for dinner every night or five
Sure.
nights or
One of the
whatever?
things I like to have my clients do first is get organized. Because if you're not organized, I don't care how many recipes you have, you're still going to be chaos when it comes time to getting dinner on the table. So I have my clients organize their pantry, their fridge, and their freezer.
Okay.
Because my big theory is once you know what you have, you have to know what you need, and then you have to know how to use it. And those are really the steps for you to becoming better at cooking, learning more about cooking, or if you already are a good cook, how to vary it so you're not bored all the time. So know what you have, know what you need, and know how to use it. That's where we start as a general rule. Then we try to get a bunch of recipes under their belt. I ask them to find out what their family likes to eat, what they don't like to eat, because you have to have an awareness of what your family's food tastes are so you can amplify it, grow it in a different way. But if nobody's going to eat a certain ingredients under every single circumstance, don't make it. It's pretty simple that way. So once you get a couple of things in your belt, I teach women how to not only make those recipes, but how to repurpose them, because you don't want to be cooking from scratch every night of the week. It's exhausting. There's no need for it, and it wastes a lot of food, and it's expensive. And then you start resenting everyone and everything. So that's not a way to live. So you want to learn how to repurpose some of your recipes. You can batch cook, which means making a bigger quantity of a certain part of your recipe and then repurposing that later on the week for something else. And I can give you an example of that. So my family loves spicy Asian meatballs, and I make them on a sheet pan in the oven. I don't like the splatter. I don't want to clean up my stove. They take 15 minutes to bake, maybe less than 10 minutes to prepare. Simple, really, really bursts of flavors. So let's say on night one, I'll make some rice to go with it and maybe some bok choy with garlic sauce and maybe oyster sauce. Again, you can buy the oyster sauce. You're not making it from scratch. The whole meal comes together in under 30 minutes. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Later down in the week, I will take my leftover rice, because I made them a lot, and I will make it into fried rice, because the secret of fried rice is you need day-old rice. So bingo, bango.
I was getting ready
Maybe that's
to
why
say,
people's fried rices don't work.
Right?
Gotcha. So you make a fried rice, and you could add a leftover protein from another meal. Maybe you made a roast chicken one day. Now you have extra chicken. Make it a chicken fried rice dinner. Half that meal was already done before you even started. So these are ways that I try to teach women. You don't have to look at just every individual recipe. We're going to learn how to look at what you're making and how you can modify it throughout the week. So you're eating different things, totally different flavors, but you're not spending so much time in the kitchen, because everybody, 201, tells me I have no time to cook.
Right. Yes. And going along with that, even just doing simple things like when you cut half an onion, like my recipe last night called for half an onion, cut that other half up and just store it away so that it's ready. So you don't have to then again dice another onion tomorrow night.
100%. And if you know you know what you're cooking, and you see that you're going to be using garlic, we're big garlic fans in my family. You're going to be using garlic all week. You can mince a lot of garlic at one time, put it in a baggie or a little container, keep it in your refrigerator. And again, it's the little steps that save you so much time in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. So are there anything, so you usually go through the pantry and determine like what they need and everything. Are there certain ingredients you want moms to always have on hand in their pantry?
It depends on people's backgrounds, their ethnicities. Different cultures have different staples in their pantries and in their refrigerator, and I respect that, and I need to learn from them if I'm not familiar with it, although I know a real lot of variety of cuisines at this point. For me, one of the things I recommend is get an Italian seasoning blend, because you're not going to be adding your rosemary separate from your thyme, separate from your oregano. If you really want to save time, there's a million great Italian seasoning blends out there. Have that in there. Have your garlic, have your salt and pepper, obviously. I think it's really important to have hot sauces, whether you like a sriracha, a gochujang, Frank's hot sauce. It doesn't really matter. Have something that you can really spice things up with. And we go through. I have a list that I work with my moms on what are your pantry staples that you should have, what are things that you should have in your freezer at all times, and what things could you have in your refrigerator. If you have a lot of sauces that you either make or buy, and I caution with the buying, because there's a lot of ingredients and a lot of sauces out there that you really don't want to use, but there's some really good ones too. So if you're really judicious in what you buy and what you make, sometimes adding a sauce to your chicken changes the dish entirely, and all you just had to do is nothing. Like we make when we really need a fast dinner, my kids like chicken tenders, but that's boring, and I'm not going to make boring chicken tenders. So I'll saute some onions and some ginger and some garlic, and I'll add the chicken tenders, and then I'll go to a Trader Joe's. You can go anywhere you want. They've got a great Indian tiki masala sauce. You pour that on top of it, and in 10 minutes, you've got an Indian dinner, and it's awesome. And if you really want, throw some of your chopped broccoli in there. You got a one-pan dinner now with your vegetables. You can make a rice on the side that, again, you can reuse later for your fried rice down in the week. And it's simple. So if you have a decent set of spices, a decent set of marinades or sauces, you can create countless dishes, even with the little cooking knowledge you may have.
Okay, perfect. When you are working with giving them variety throughout the week and with the different meats that you're using, the proteins, is there a way that you recommend storing those throughout? Because you mentioned the roasted chicken and then a few nights later. Are you just storing it in the fridge and making sure to have it within 2 or 3 nights?
Within a couple of days. Yeah. If you, and I work with all kinds of diets. So I do vegetarian, I do plant-based, I do vegan, you name it. I can accommodate all those kind of dietary preferences or needs. But if you've got a roast chicken, it's going to stay good in your refrigerator for 3 days.
Okay.
I will say that when you put something, whether it's in your refrigerator or your freezer, I prefer to have something in a clear container because then I can see what it is. We all like little colors, and that's really nice. But if you can't see what's inside it, it's going to go bad because you're not going to remember what's inside and you're not going to use it. And there goes your money down the drain. So clear containers and whatever you want to do, airtight containers, obviously.
Okay. This brings me to a thought that I'm having here is I'm very good about, I love to make different meals every night. I'm in the kitchen most every night. I'm not a batch cooker, but I definitely respect it and think maybe I might need to move towards that a little bit more. And my main reason why is because we end up throwing away a lot of food. How do you work with families to kind of repurpose? I know you mentioned like the rice and everything. Is this something that you're planning out ahead of time? Like, we're going to cook more of this so that on this night we can have this? Because I feel like for myself, I'll look in my kitchen and I'm looking around and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have all this. So, say tomatoes from diced tomatoes and a half a jar we only use. Like, are you helping them prepare that in advance? Like, you're only going to have half diced tomatoes here, so let's then work on using it here. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
asking?
If you're using those half diced tomatoes in a sauce, maybe make a bigger sauce and freeze some of it. So you don't have to have that half a can in what you're doing, depending on what you're cooking. But yeah, and when I start working with people and they want a meal plan and they want a meal prep, if they like a structure, not everybody likes a structure, we'll write things down for the week, and then we'll see how things flow. And once you know what you're going to be making, and it could be loosey-goosey, you could say, listen, I want chicken this one day, I want whatever protein, tofu, tempeh, fish another day. It doesn't really matter. But once you have an idea of what you want to make and maybe a vegetable you want to make with it, as you get good at this, you can figure out, well, what else can I do with it? So let's say you were making your roasted broccoli on a sheet pan one night. Okay. So maybe you're going to have that roasted broccoli one night, but then when you're going to make that chicken tikka masala sauce and you're going to throw the broccoli in and you can throw it in at the last minute because it's already cooked. So now you've used up your leftovers. There's very little food waste. And if you know generally what you're going to be cooking for the week, you can see where those commonalities are. And figure out how you can use your leftovers for that.
Okay. Do you help families, and this is a question again, do you help families like look in their refrigerator and come up with more creative ideas?
Absolutely.
Based on because that's where I think I struggle. I'm definitely a recipe. I have to have a recipe. So when I look and I see all this stuff, I'm so it's
one
like
of the things that I like to transition my people, the women that I work with, on is being dependent on recipes and knowing how to cook and how to flavor things. Because if you're not dependent on a recipe, at some point you can open up that refrigerator door and say, oh, I see A, B, and C. Well, I know that goes with this spice I have and that spice I have, and I know how to use it. So It's not just meal planning and meal prepping. It's learning
Right.
how to cook and globally looking at the ingredients you have and how you can use them. Sometimes maybe you actually have meal planned and you had a really nice dinner planned, and then something happens and the kids are at school later, or their sports event goes forever, or something happens at work and you're exhausted and, oh my God, don't make me make that meal I put on my little sheet here, please, Linda. So I want people to be able to know how to react to those situations calmly and easily by looking at what they have and what they can do quickly instead. It's all part of a process.
Okay. And are there pieces of like kitchen tools and equipment that help families make meals quicker
Absolutely.
and
And
you recommend?
sure. I'm going to give you two inexpensive ones because
Okay.
let's start with the inexpensive because not everybody has a budget to do the expensive ones. But and
Right.
I if you ever get to video, I brought them to show you. So one
Okay.
is a microplane.
Huh?
Actually, this is a zester, and you can grate your citrus peels on it so you get that nice lemon or orange or lime. You could also do it with your ginger. You could also use it for your garlic, so you're not always chopping your garlic. I swear
Uh-huh.
by zester there. But I also have a microplane, and this one is actually by a company called a microplane. It's handheld. They have fancy French mandolins,
Uh-huh.
which you can have, and you can pay more money for, and that's great. And they have different blades and you can get wonderful different cuts, and that's really great. Start off with a microplane that's under $20. It hooks to the end of your bowl or whatever you're doing. Mine's got an adjustable 4 different sizes on the side, so you can just
Oh,
say how thick or thin you want it. So if you're making cucumbers or something, you just microplane on top, and all your things are the same size. But you can also, if you cut your onion in half and do it, you've got great onions cut. And I'm a big crier with my onions, so the less time I have to cut an onion, the happier I am. Boom, my onions are done in a second. If you want to make potato chips, holy cow, boom, 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 your potato chips are done in a second. So I must use this a million times a week. If I'm making a salad and I want to put some red cabbage in it, I'm not going to cut that whole thing up. I'm going to cut it in quarters, boom, 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 on my right microplane. And it's the same kind of cut cabbage you would have bought pre-cut at a more expensive price in the grocery store. So there's a million things you can do with a microplane. I swear by it.
well, and adding a little bit of red cabbage in with a salad or something just creates more nutrients and,
And as well as a
provides more
visual pop.
nutrients for,
I mean, nutrition
right.
is absolutely there, but you want variety in your color and everything too. So anything you can do to add it, you can do your carrots on whatever you want.
Right.
Radishes, it's a great, easy, inexpensive tool.
And where did you get that
You
tool?
can buy it at I would have used to say Bed Bath and Beyond. You can buy them at Target. You can buy them at you
Like
buy them on
Walmart,
Amazon. You can buy them
Amazon.
at
Yeah, okay.
any kitchenware store, probably even in the
Okay.
grocery store. But get a good brand. Some of them aren't so good. Microplane is really good. OXO is really good.
Okay.
And like I said, they're usually under $20.
Okay. Because I've got the big one, but it's a pain to
It's a
take it out.
pain.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a pain.
Oh, I
But this,
love
like I
that.
said,
Just being
hooks
able
onto
to
your
put it on the
bowl.
bowl. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's great. Okay. So moving on with dinner time. And you had mentioned that all the kids in the neighborhood, when they would come over, they would think that like the house, family time at your house or dinner time at your house was a lot of fun. So, what are you doing game wise with your kids to make
Huh.
this a more fun atmosphere?
I got games up the wazoo that we play at dinner time. And it depends on the age of your kids. And if you
Okay.
really want to start simple and don't want to do any thought, bring out the Mad Libs. And if your kids don't
Huh?
know what a noun is, you can just say, okay, I need the name of a person, place, or thing.
Okay.
Or I need a word that ends in ing if you need a verb. I mean, you can make it easy for anybody to play it. And as your kids get older, you may want to put some censorship rules in, or maybe not, but it gets to be really, really fun. So that's a really basic, easy thing, because you don't want to go sit at the dinner table and look at your kids and say, how was your day? And they say, fine. What'd you do in school? Nothing. And you're thinking to yourself, you were there for 8 hours. Something must have happened. And you're not getting the conversation flowing. following. So you want to do things at your dinner table that will engage your kids. And especially if you have, some people call them picky eaters. I like to say selective, because if they hear they're a picky eater, then they're going to dig their heels in even more. And you don't want that to happen. But if you have something fun going on at the table, even if you've cooked something that they said they didn't like to eat, they're going to be distracted by having the fun. And they're going to end up getting that dinner in their stomach and maybe actually liking it over time. But the distractions help on many levels. It also is a great stress reliever at the end of the day. You know, the kids are working hard, or they have to behave in school, hopefully. You know, you're doing all your stuff, your partner's doing things. And when do you get to sit down and let your hair down and be yourself? And if you don't take that opportunity to do it with your family, then when are they going to get to know you? And when are you going to get to know them? So we play a lot of games. So Mad Libs is one of them. We have a game called Headbands. You can buy it in the store, again, probably $15, or you can do it yourself. And what you do is you take a card with a picture on it. And the person puts the picture card on their forehead without looking at it. So everybody at the table can see what it is, except the person who's holding the card. And they have to get to what it's a picture of. So this is a game you can play with little kids. You know, they know what a house looks like. They know what an apple is, all that stuff. And it's like 20 questions. And they have to guess, only asking yes or no questions, what's it a picture of? So not only is it a fun game, but it teaches them logic. It teaches them thinking. And it's incredibly hysterical when they're so off the bat, no matter what clues they're getting. And you're thinking it's so obvious and they don't know, but it's a really great, easy game. You take your trivial cards from any game you have. You don't need the board. Play the damn cards. You know, it'll get conversation going. You could do round robin stories where somebody starts the story and does 3 or 4 lines into it. You know, you're making it up. And then the next person adds to it. And it's amazing to see where your kids' thought processes are and where they take that story. So there's also things like there's a crazy non-religious holiday every day of the week. I mean, stupid beyond belief holiday. So you can plan your meals sometimes, or your conversation around those holidays. So April is National Poetry Month. So 1 April, I said to my kids and my family, it's National Poetry Month. You got to humor me, and you've got to come to the table with a poem at dinner tonight. Well, you can imagine that went over like a lead balloon. Nobody likes poetry. Oh my God, you're out of your mind, Mom. This is awful. I said, why are you thinking so small? A poem can be a song lyric. It could be a TV jingle. It could be anything you want it to be. You have to come to the table with, you can write a poem. I don't care. Come to the table with a poem. We're going to honor poetry this month. Oh, yeah. So my son comes down with a poem he wrote called I Hate Poetry, which was actually very, very funny. My daughter did some nursery rhyme because she took the easy way out, and that was fine because she complied. My husband wrote a rap song. The worst horrible rap song you could ever imagine, sang it on the top of his lungs. We're peeing in our pants, falling out of our chairs. It was probably one of the most memorable dinners we've ever had. And to this day, he tells people, I want to write a rap song. Do you want to hear it? And we just shout, no, you don't want to hear it. So there's all kinds of things you can do to bring a lot of life to your table.
I love all of the ideas. And I think it's nice that you mentioned with your selective eaters, like this takes everything, the stress off of them from feeling like everybody's watching them, waiting for them to finish their meal or wait till they eat that green bean. You're all having fun and interacting with one another, which so many of us, I mean, we do a lot of game nights and things, but I haven't really, we usually do it right after we eat, but I like the thought of just doing it during dinner because it also helps us to slow down. I think we rush through mealtime a lot of times just because it's like, just one of those things that we got to do this so we can get to the next thing. So this provides more of an atmosphere like when you go out to dinner, just kind of hanging out, talking to one another, playing a game, that kind of thing. So I love that idea.
Yeah, and we still do it today. And my son is much older, and he brought a girlfriend home one time for dinner. And I said to her, we play games at the dinner table. And she said, yes. And I said, did Max tell you have to play with us? And she said, yes. And considering it was the first time she had ever met us, it broke the ice because we didn't say, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or what are you studying? Or all those ridiculous questions that we feel like we need to know the answers to. She just had fun with us. And my kids to this day will say, what are we playing at dinner tonight, Mom? So that's a great thing. And they, like you say, they like to linger because they're having fun. And that's a precious time you can't make up.
Yeah. So let me ask you, were you a teacher at some point?
No, I'm a lawyer.
Okay, because it's such a like everything that you were mentioning, I was thinking to myself because I was a teacher prior, and these were types of things that we would do as teachers. So I was just curious if you were one. So I'm thinking of like conversation starters, and I because of what you had mentioned, I think this provides even more opportunity because I feel like those conversation starters, although they're great for little ones because they do provide for a lot of imagination, but as they get older, you don't see that as much. My kids like kind of roll their eyes now because I have 17, 15, and 11-year-old. So they kind of roll their eyes at me when I pull that out and ask them a question. So I do really love this idea. Do you have a place like where we can go to get more of these ideas? Because it sounds like they're not specific to games, like you mentioned, like board games, but they're really kind of things that you've come up with. Do you have
Well,
like,
when people work with me, I pepper everything I do with wanting to make it a holistic experience. So,
okay,
not only are you meal planning and prepping and cooking, you're having a great time at the table, and you're also, truthfully, you're mimicking a great way for your kids to role model for how they want to be and how they want to have conversation skills and all those wonderful things. So it's always part of what I do when I work with people. I will say that I have an Instagram site and a Facebook group called Easy Weeknight Dinners for Busy Moms, and a Balaboosta secret Facebook page where I do post periodically, among many other things. Today is, like yesterday was Louie Louie Day. And you say, what the
okay,
heck is
I
Louie
saw that.
Louie?
Yeah.
Well, the old rock and roll song, Louie Louie. And so I posted something saying it's Louie Louie Day, get up and dance at your dinner table. And, so periodically I'll put that in my social media, not every day. But when you work with me, you get a lot of that as well.
Okay. And when we work with you, are you, is it one-on-one? Is that what you mostly do?
I do mostly one-on-one at this time.
Okay.
I'm working on doing a group program. I have a VIP day in case somebody just wants, to get a sample of how I do things, but mostly one-on-one, and they can set how many sessions they want to have when they feel, comfortable. It's usually 3 to 6 months. We do it by Zoom if that works for them.
Okay. Okay. And where can we find you? I know you said you're on Facebook and Instagram.
Right. So I have a website, balaboostasecret.com. I also have a freebie for your audience on Easy One Dish Recipe Guide. And if you sign up for that, you'll become on my newsletter. So you'll get
Okay.
my weekly newsletters that also has ideas and suggestions and sometimes a little humor because you got to have humor in everything you do. So you'll stay abreast. And so if I have a new course coming out or a new program, that's a great way to get to me. My email is Linda@Balaboosta Secret. Feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm happy to chat. I offer a 20-minute dinner review audit to just help you feel where you are. It's free phone call to see if we're both going to mesh with our styles. And if we
Okay.
like what you learn on that call, let's do business.
Okay. Perfect. Can you leave our listeners with one thing, if we're thinking of one thing that we can work on and focus on this week to help raise healthier humans? What would you recommend our moms
Sure.
do?
I always tell people dinner doesn't have to be complex to be delicious and fun. So take the pressure off yourself. You don't have to make a perfect meal every night. Nobody's really judging you. And if they say they don't like it, I don't take that as a no. Just like I told you at the very beginning, I always say to my family when I put dinner on the table, is this a thumbs up or a thumbs down? If I get a thumbs down, I am not crushed. I say to them, okay, what would make it better? What would you do differently? Now you're getting your family, especially your kids, to think about their taste buds, their textural feelings. and have them articulate, well, what would you do? I say, okay, maybe I'll try that next time. So now they already know this is not the last they're going to have this. You're not defeated because now you're going to give them some skin in the game, because now you're going to try something they suggested, which means they're probably going to like it more because it was their suggestion. You're showing that you value their opinion and all those wonderful psychological things that go along with that. And you're all going to learn. So don't make it complex. Make it fun. It's food. Nobody's going to die of starvation. Have fun with it and have fun with your family.
Excellent. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day for this.
It's really my pleasure.
Thanks for taking the time out of your day to listen to our podcast. We hope you found this information valuable and can incorporate it into your family's life. Make sure to check out our show notes for all the important links available. Come join us on Facebook at Moms Raising Healthy Humans community page. Also, please check out our wide range of memberships, family monthly focus ideas, challenges, live events, and on-demand and live workouts, meal plans, and so much more. Head to formfitonline.com. And as always, keep moving.